Aloha folks, Aaron from Hawaii Music School here, and I wanted to answer a couple of questions today. The first one is, I get this pretty often, what is the difference between the low G and the high G? And I think I've addressed this before in one of my Q&As, but I don't think I gave an example, using the actual ukuleles and stuff. But the low G is actually strung differently, so it has a different string on it. You can't just take a high G string and tune it down. Technically you could, but it would be like just flopping all over the place, and it would really not be a really good sound that you want to have. I guess the tensions on the strings are different, and because of that, you would have this string that is so much softer in volume and floppier sounding, it just wouldn't be good. So a lot of companies make a wound string. So what that does is it adds to the tension. It makes it like about the same tension as a high G string, and it's wound, so it still keeps the same volume. Now there are other companies that make a low G that is non-wound, and some people really like that because there's a anti-scratchiness to it, that sound when you're sliding, and it works out really well. I have a string on here because normally I use a regular wound G string, but my string broke, so I've got one of these guys on here that I got from Andrew over at the Ukulele site, and he was like, "Hey, try out this string," and it's a flat wound string. It actually plays really nicely, and it really, to me, it works really well. And surprisingly, it's the same volume as my other string, so I might actually switch my string set over to this one because I really like the way that string plays. But the low G adds a few notes to it, so it's still tuned G, C, E, A. Okay? But the lower, it's an octave down, and so because of that, we don't get the same note until the 5th fret. So that means we have all of these notes here that weren't there before. And it's kind of like, here, let me grab a high G ukulele. So this one, all of those notes that are on this string were here already. So we had it already on the ukulele. And the lowest note on this one is that C string. Now, on this ukulele, because I have a low G string on here and I've got it tuned to that lower G, I have this much more notes. And granted, it's only 5 notes, but it does make a pretty big difference in your voicings and the way you play. And I can do licks like that. Now I can still do that on the high G, but it sounds different, So if I were to do the same thing or something similar on this guy right here, I have that. Which still sounds good because I'm still playing the same notes. However, the octave down does give it more of like a guitar-like sound. There's a certain slack key, I guess, element to it when you play Hawaiian music on a low G ukulele. You can get some really cool stuff out of the high G as well, though. I mean, there's so many different things you can do on the high G. One of the things that I've gone over and over is the banjo roll thing. The repeating G note really helps out. I do use a high G a lot. A lot of famous players actually use the high G. Jake Shimbukuro for one, Kale Gamiao, Aldrin Guerrero. All of these guys play high G. I'm sure they have low G ukuleles, but all their recordings are done in high G. Myself, personally, I tend to float between the two. I think because I play guitar about just as much, or if not more than I play the ukulele, I tend to gravitate a little bit towards the low G string. like if I grab one and I'm playing with a group or something, it doesn't really matter. I don't really do a whole lot of solo stuff by myself, so to me it doesn't make that big of a difference. But if I had to go with preference in a solo setting, I would probably go with a Logi, and in a band setting, just because it's more fun, and you know, you got the whole Troy Fernandez thing and the Kyle Curtis, I might play the high G. So that would be just the way I look at things. Now, there are a lot of things that come into play when you're deciding whether you should tune your ukulele to a low G or a high G. Think number one about the songs that you listen to and the songs that you want to play. Is the recording done in a high G? Because if it was done in a low G and you have a high G, you're always going to be kind of thinking that you're missing something. And if it was done in a high G and you got a low G, you're going to feel like, man, how come it doesn't sound as bright? So, like, if you listen to a lot of Israel Kamakavivole, he played pretty much most of the time he played a low G. If you listen to a lot of Jake Shimabukuro, Troy Fernandez, all those guys, they played pretty much a high G. So I'm not saying that you got to emulate their styles or anything like that, but you want to keep in mind, if that's the sound that you're going for, that's the string you want to put on your ukulele. Now, as far as string brands go, there are a ton, like literally a ton of strings out there that some people love, some people hate. I myself, I'm very anal retentive when it comes to strings, so I end up mixing and matching from different packs, and that's what I do. I wouldn't recommend doing that, because you know, you end up wasting a lot of time that you could be playing by being really anal about the sound of it. My biggest advice to you is to go out and, you know, try a bunch of different packs and see what works best, because every ukulele is different too. This is a Ko'olau ukulele, and there are some string sets that I've put on here that to my ear just didn't sound good with it. And they're great string sets. Like, I know for a fact that, you know, a lot of people love the Aquila strings or Aquila strings. I'm not even sure how you say it, but those strings are probably the best selling strings in the world right now. And I did not like the sound of it on my Ko'olau ukulele, but, you know, on the flip side to that, I had those strings on one day and I was playing them, and I think that's probably about the only time I had somebody tell me, "Hey man, that thing sounds really amazing. Like, what are you playing?" And they were asking about the brand, but that's the only, I had that string set on when they asked. So I don't know, maybe my ears are shot. I don't know. But the low G ukulele, to me, if you're gonna play low G, keep in mind there's gonna be a lot of things that when you are learning through tablature are not gonna sound right. If you're doing, like, you know, it just kind of sounds weird having that low string there. But at the same time, if we're doing other things, like we're playing with a bass note that's walking, then it does have its advantages. It does sound really good in that sense. Or if you're playing Hawaiian music, or, you know, just need those low notes, that kind of stuff, you probably would like a low G better. And I know this sounds crazy, but I'm crazy. Okay? I have two ukuleles that I play all the time. I actually have a ton of ukuleles, but I have two that I play most of the time. I have one strung in a low G, and I have one strung in a high G. Now, if you guys remember some of the older videos that I did, this used to be the low G, this used to be the high G. I had to play a solo gig, but I wanted to take the Ko ukulele with me, so I strung it with the low G, and because of that, it automatically made this guy the high G ukulele by default, because I'm too lazy to change strings on slot-headed ukuleles. So, yeah. And that's another thing too, changing your strings, doing maintenance on your ukulele. If you want to get the optimized sound out of your ukulele and you want the optimal performance coming out of your instrument, you got to take care of it. So I'm hell on my instruments. I beat them up a lot, and you can't see all the scratches on this thing because the video doesn't pick it up, but I polish this guy almost religiously because I really put a beating on it, you know, and this is a gorgeous ukulele. I've had this one a little bit longer. Believe it or not, this was a satin finish before. I was starting to get like the shininess coming on here from my forearm, and then the neck, of course, turned gloss because my hand was sliding up and down it. And my friend Noah was like, "Hey, bro, how you got that part? It's all shiny." So I was like, "Yeah, I think it's from the rub on my arm." And so he took his ukulele, which was a satin ukulele, and he like rubbed the hell out of it, and it glossed it. And so I asked him to do mine, and so he basically just took his hand and did that, and it like shined a satin finish. So that's how this one came to be the way it is. But you want to take care of your ukuleles. You want to properly maintain them, meaning you want to change your strings all the time. I'll probably do a video on changing strings and on what I do as far as maintenance goes, because I like to oil the fretboard. Every time I change the strings, I oil the bridge and the fretboard. You know, I make sure my frets are clean and polished, because you can get some like finger grub in between there. And I have a little bottle with gear oil that I drip into my tuners to make sure that they stay properly lubricated. But yeah, for the most part, you know, you want to make sure your instruments are really well taken care of, because if you're going to be playing a lot and you're going to be traveling and you're going to take it everywhere with you, keep in mind this is your best friend, okay? And you want to take good care of your friends. So for me personally, I mean, like I said, I'm hell on these guys. I bang them around and stuff, but I try my best to take really good care of them. I would suggest checking out, you know, a lot of the music stores and stuff. They have polish, they have cleaning stuff, and I would definitely suggest you guys get into that. And I will do a tutorial on ukulele maintenance in the future. But I hope that has answered the question of difference in low and high G. And sorry about rambling on the way I have. Jam on, guys. Alright, guys, well, that's it for me today. If you like the video, go ahead, hit the like button below. Also, hit the subscribe button. I need more subscribers, so help a brother out, man. And if you like this video and you'd like to see more videos like this, as well as like tutorials and lessons and all that stuff, go to my website, HawaiiMusicSchool.com. We have a free 2-week trial membership. You can sign up right now and get your 2 weeks free. Alright, guys, aloha.